When the Colorado ZR2 got a brand new redesign for the 2021 model year, it got a new grille and a new front bumper. And although it looks unique, it was pretty different than the previous models of ZR2, which means a lot of the aftermarket front bumpers that you get don't fit anymore. So now that it's a little over a year later, we have a couple options to choose from. This is the hidden winch bumper from Fab Fours. In this video, I'm going to show you a short montage I put together thanks to my friends over at F&F Specialty Vehicles in Portland, Connecticut. You'll see the install, and then after that, I'll tell you my initial impressions of the bumper as well as why I chose it. Let's get started. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Varsity Overland channel. Today is a really special day. As some of you might know, a few months ago I made a really bonehead decision and decided to drive my truck through a nice solid frozen mud pit, and when I did so I bashed up the front plastic bumper quite a bit, and then last weekend I was in the mountains of Virginia sliding around in some snow wishing I had a winch. So today I am actually at FFSV in Portland, Connecticut, F&F Specialty Vehicles, and we're gonna see if we can make something happen. New bumper, winch, and a couple lights. Stay tuned. All right, people. Well, it's a few days later. I've been driving around with the bumper on the truck, and no complaints so far. You know, I just took it into the state forest, driving around on the trails a little bit. It was like the first pretty nice day that we've had in a while. So just driving around, see how it felt. It's definitely a little stiffer, a little heavier in the front, but I think any front bumper would have done that, obviously, to the truck. So what I want to do now is tell you two major, talking points. Number one, why did I get this front bumper? And then number two is my initial impressions about all of its features. So why did I go with the hidden winch bumper from Fab Fours when I could have done something like CBI's covert front bumper, or even Addictive Desert Designs has a few. Peak Suspension uses one. I can't remember the brand, the company that they went with, but they kind of unveiled their huge ZR2 a month or two back, and they have a really nice front bumper. So why did I go with Fab Fours? Honestly, I like that it incorporates the front tow hooks, the factory tow hooks, and also it incorporates the skid plate. Sometimes when you get off-road front bumpers, you have to get that company's skid plate to match as well, and Fab Fours didn't require that. It's fairly big, but it is, it's got that kind of like beefy, strong look to it, I guess you could say. And what I also really liked when I was looking it up online is that you didn't have to cut away a bunch of metal on the inside of the grill. You had to get rid of the crash plate, or the crash bar, like you would for any front bumper. But you didn't have to cut away a whole bunch of metal on the inside. It made the install much more simple, and also made me feel better that I wasn't like tearing out a bunch of the original vehicle, I guess you could say. Now, not cutting away a bunch of stuff on the inside like the CBI bumper does, yeah, it doesn't make room for the winch. So that's why, as some people say, this bumper sticks out a little bit further, and there may or may not be approach angle complaints, which I'll talk about in a minute. So yeah, I mean, those are the reasons why I went with Fab Fours. I liked it, honestly. I also liked that it had the pockets. Let's see if I can do this while holding the camera. You see these pockets in here to access the winch. I really like that. I liked the location of the lights on either side to install. It's accessible. Getting to the winch, getting to the lights, the openings allows for nice airflow. It allows for, you can put your hand in there. It just makes things, they're open and it's easy to access anything that you need in there. I went with Fab Fours. A lot of people tend to talk about how Fab Fours, their bumpers are kind of bulbous. They're huge. They kind of like stick out. And I would say, yeah, 90% of their bumpers are like that. After I looked at a bunch of their bumpers, I would agree. But this one, not so much. If you're doing it at home, if it's just like DIY situation, you want to install it yourself, it's definitely a lot easier than some of the other bumpers. So now let's move on to the first impressions. So coming back to that initial issue that I brought up earlier, with the front approach angle of the truck being slightly compromised after installing the bumper, I would say that it's probably a little bit worse than the original bumper on the truck. As you can see, it sticks out just slightly here, whereas the original, of course it wants to focus on my finger, the original bumper on the truck was much more streamlined from the bottom right up to the top. And then obviously I've got this roller Fairlead because I went with a cable winch instead of a synthetic line. So yeah, that sticks out there. The Fairlead, that's not a problem that everybody's going to have, obviously. I'm thinking about switching over to a steel Haas Fairlead, I think it's called, a steel one. Basically just a steel version of the one you'd get with a synthetic line. I've heard that that type of Fairlead can be used with cable, but I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do that, just because if I have to run the winch at like a really sharp angle for some reason, the roller might work a lot better than the House Fairlead does. If you know anything about that, let me know. If you happen to run a steel Fairlead with your cable winch versus the roller Fairlead, or if it's just safer to go with roller. I was just trying to think about a way I could minimize how much this part sticks out with the Fairlead and go with something a lot more flush. But yeah, I mean, you could imagine what the approach angle would look like without that Fairlead. I don't think people are talking about the Fairlead when they talk about the approach angle on this bumper though. They're just talking about the bumper itself. So ignore my Fairlead for now. You can see the tow hooks sticking out on the bottom. And normally on the original bumper, you'd be able to see all, you know, the full tow hook exposed, and now you can kind of only see the tip of it. So that's kind of a good indicator as to how much the front bumper sticks out a little bit more than the original bumper does. The Fab Fours sticks out more. But honestly, it's all just really, it's like that to make room for the winch. And then you have the loop. The loop doesn't stick out. At first I was worried. I was worried the loop was going to be like way out here. And it's really not that bad, honestly. It's kind of perfect. It's the exact way in my mind that I was hoping the loop would look in front of the grill. But for some reason, when I look at Fab Fours' website, or I look at some of the other people on Instagram who have this bumper, it looks like it was just like a lot further forward, and I was really worried, but I just took a chance and went for it. I'm glad I did, because I like the way the loop is. Down here in the bottom, however, there is more clearance here, just below the bumper, because normally on the ZR2 you can't see these side flaps of the skid plate, and now you can see the side flaps. So it has been exposed, and it has been risen, like the bottom of the truck has been risen up because of this bumper. So that is kind of cool. So, you know, as far as literal clearance from the bottom to the bumper itself, I think I've gained some. Approach angle, I think I've lost some. This is kind of making me even further consider installing that 1-inch leveling kit that I've been thinking about for the past few months, just to see if I could get the whole bumper to pop up just a little bit more, and maybe that'll address any approach angle, you know, compromises that I've had because of this bumper. The bumper and winch together are a little heavy, and it has lowered the truck about 1/4 of an inch here. So in reality, if I put on the 1-inch leveling kit, it'll really just be like, you know, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of a leveling kit. And in the end, I'm not thinking I mind, because with all my camping gear, you know, in the tent, the back is a little bit lower, obviously, than it is stock. And I did all the measurements before and after. I just obviously don't remember everything off the top of my head. But in the end, putting on a leveling kit, now that the front has this weight on it, I think actually gear in the back, bumper on the front, plus leveling kit, it actually should be perfectly level with everything else. So maybe I'll do that, and it'll take care of any approach angle loss that I've had. You know, and in the future, the truck will have bigger lift, bigger tires, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if you already have a suspension lift, if you already have a leveling kit, if you already have kind of your truck higher off the ground, a slight approach angle going with this bumper isn't going to kill you. So other impressions that I had about this bumper, and I definitely want to mention this for anyone who is considering it. I went with a Badlands ZXR 12,000 pound winch. This is not the winch that it recommends that you get with the bumper. I think the winch is like a Warn Z something or other. It's the Warn 12,000 pound or 10,000 pound. But if you know anything about winches, the one that it recommends is the synthetic line. And a lot of synthetic line winches, their solenoid is like kind of just built into the rest of the winch, whereas cable winches, the solenoid is kind of separate. So, because I didn't get the winch that it recommends, because no offense to Warren, but those winches, they cost a lot. So I went with the Badlands because I've seen a lot of other ZR2 owners that go with the Badlands. And in order to make it work, the guys over at F&F Specialty Vehicles had to relocate the solenoid up inside my hood. So let me pop the hood and I'll just show you what that setup looks like really quick, just in case you're planning on going with anything other than a Warren winch, because I really don't know if anything else would work. Obviously, if you get something really similar to the synthetic Warren winch, maybe a Badlands synthetic line, it almost, I mean, the shape almost looks exactly the same, so it may fit. But I went with the cable, so let me show you what it looks like under the hood. So this is what the guys did. They took the whole solenoid box and they just relocated it up here. They had a whole bunch of industrial, you know, heat shielded, rattle proof, protected, you know, weather resistant, whatever cable, which was awesome. They ran it all the way through, down behind the grill, and into the bumper, into the winch. Super thankful about that. But anyway, here it is, mounted on a piece of aluminum that they just bent, bolted it into place here. The remote access point is right here. It is a cable remote. It's not wireless. So I can actually, and I've tested this out, I can plug it in. I can partially close this, just like that. So we still have our gap, right? And the cable that comes with it is actually just thin enough to fit through here. And then I can run the remote through my window and sit in the driver's seat and use the winch while I'm going if I have to. In the future, I know they make Bluetooth wireless adapters here, so I can just plug in the antenna, and then I'll be able to close the hood completely and use it from anywhere I want. So that's probably going to be the plan in the future. But for now, this is how the guys over at F&F SV made it work. Super thankful. And yeah, so what are we going to move on to next? I don't know. I guess we can move on to some lighting. I don't really have a whole lot more to talk about. These are amber fog lights that I got from Diode Dynamics, which have been awesome. By the way, if you're looking for a brand, a lighting brand, off-road lighting brand that is like top notch, but not gonna, you know, light your wallet on fire, go with Diode Dynamics. They're awesome. I can have a whole review about these lights in the future as well. I haven't had a good chance to, you know, really drive for an extended period of time at night. All I have is the experience of using these driving around town. I would love to take them down the trail, you know, in the state forest late at night. So I'll have to find some time to do that so I can get a nice honest review about those fog lights. So yeah, I mean, here it is. Hidden winch bumper from Fab Fours. I'm loving it so far. I think it really fits the truck pretty well. I have no complaints. It's strong looking. I love the loop on it in the front of the grill. I love, you know, the way that you can access inside. If I had to change one of those lights, which I already have, actually, I ended up getting the wrong lights the first time. They were the high beam supplement lights. They weren't the fog lights, but I was able to change them, or the guys at F&F were able to change them actually pretty quickly. You just reached in, unplugged it, popped them out, exchanged it, all thanks to the cutouts, all thanks to the way that I can fit my hand in here and access whatever I need to. A lot of the other smaller front bumpers, covert front bumpers, hidden winch front bumpers, they don't allow that. All right, folks, well, that's going to be it for today's video. I want to give a monumental shout out and thank you to the guys over at F&F Specialty Vehicles in Portland, Connecticut. Not only did they install the bumper and work with me with some components like the solenoid, but they allowed me to sit in their shop with my camera over their shoulder for like a 7-hour period, recording every step of the install process. And I am beyond thankful for that. If you need any custom work done on your rig, SUV, truck, even a car, whatever it is, go look at F&F Specialty Vehicles in Portland, Connecticut. I am telling you, they're the real deal. I'm not just saying that because I use them. I'm not just saying that because they let me film the whole thing. I've talked to them quite a few times over the past, I'd say, 9 months. I've met them repeatedly. I've talked to the owner a few times. John, he's a great guy. I would not recommend it if they weren't the real deal. I have talked about a couple companies that I've used on this channel and whether or not you should use them. I've told you when it doesn't work out and you shouldn't use them. Definitely go to F&F Specialty Vehicles. They're phenomenal. So yeah, this is what I got. Fab Fours hidden winch bumper. I'm gonna hopefully do a period review, maybe 6-month review, 9-month, year, whatever, of the front bumper and how it held up over some trail riding and overland travels. But yeah, this is what I got for now. If you have any questions about the Fab Fours front bumper, definitely leave a comment down below. I'll answer it if I have some experience with it and I can give you what you're looking for. So yeah, anyway, thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the video. As usual, see you guys next time. Peace.